Today we're taking a look at some World War II defences right here in Guildford, Surrey. Now, in the last video we took a look at a place on the GHQ stop line, and that was the static defence line that was built along the south of England in 1940 or late 1939, early 1940, and that wasn't an ideal solution. That was a static line, and as the army managed to rebuild and much of the equipment that had been left in France following the Dunkirk evacuation started to be manufactured and produced again, the ideal solution was to move to more of a mobile position rather than our army being held along a static line, to create a more mobile defence, something that would be easier to manoeuvre if we were invaded. And that's where the idea of creating nodal defence points came from. And one of those nodal defence points was right here in Guildford, Surrey. Now, in order for that to work, around Guildford in Surrey, a line of defensive positions were created. And right now there are still some existing today, and that's where we are right now. So as we speak, I'm stood in a line of what are called dragon's teeth. These are actually anti-tank defensive positions. If I turn the camera, I can show you a little bit of what we're looking at. So you can see right now we're stood in the bottom of this, and it runs down there. So it starts over here. This is actually the river coming past us here. Starts at the water, which of course creates a natural defence, and then it runs all the way along and up this hill ahead of us. Now, I haven't been up the hill yet, but I believe we might even have a couple of defensive kind of rifle pits or trenches that still exist up there. Now, the idea of the nodal defence points was that they would actually be manned by the Home Guard. That would enable the full army to be more mobile, as we talked about earlier. So this position here was actually manned by the Guildford Home Guard. Now, here we've kind of created a sort of line of these anti-tank positions. As we talked about, they start over this side by the water and run all the way up the hill here behind me. But it's quite interesting having a look at them. If you look closely, each one has like a piece of metal sticking out the top of it. And I believe that's actually because these positions would have had kind of metal poles sticking out the top of them, and then would have had barbed wire positioned along them. So rather than just being the concrete anti-tank defence, they would also be more restrictive if troops or infantry wanted to try to move through them. Now, Guildford town, or the centre of Guildford, is actually through this way behind us. So they would have been, creating a defence line coming from this direction. So over on this side, on my left-hand side, we would have had the river, which of course creates a natural man-made defence. Then along here, this anti-tank, and then up at the top of the hill, where we're going to go in a second, I believe it would have curved off and across the other side of Guildford. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist anymore because there's been other stuff built up there. But I think up the top of here, we do have a rifle pit and some other bits. So let's go check those out. Okay, so we just climbed to the top of this hill, and you can see now these running all the way down the hill behind me, all the way down to the river. And up here at the top, we have found something really cool. Over here, if you have a look, we have the remains of what looks like a rifle pit. Okay, so here we go. Now, it's kind of full of leaves, but you can see here is the edge, and over there you get a better look at it as well. It kind of runs off over there. If I get down a little bit lower here, you get a much better look at this, and you can kind of see the position of it. Now, I don't know how deep it is because I don't fancy digging through these leaves right here, but I'm guessing it certainly would have been deep enough for somebody to be able to be at least up to their waist, or maybe even potentially stood in this position. Now, it looks as though it's been made with like sandbags, probably filled with concrete. Of course, the actual sandbags themselves are long rotted away at this stage. But the thing that is quite interesting, so from this position here, you can see the line of dragon's teeth run up the hill here. Now, Guildford city centre is kind of in this direction, so I imagine that defensive line would have come along here. This probably, and I'm guessing a bit here, but this probably would have been the corner of the position, which then would have run off back in this direction here. So if I now have moved over and stood behind the position, you can kind of see The Dragon's Teeth come up the hill here in front of me. Down here we've got the rifle pit on this corner, like so, and I imagine we would have been defending from this direction here. Now the thing we have to remember is that these positions were never used for their intended purpose. We never were invaded. But you can imagine, you know, if you were here and a member of the Guildford Home Guard, if we had been invaded and we knew that the Germans were coming towards Guildford, to be here defending this position, looking off through these woods behind me, boy, that would have been an intimidating feeling. Now it's worth noting at this point, this was not supposed to be a direct defensive position that would hold off the entire Nazi German army. The idea was that this would be part of a defence, or part of a series of defensive points that would slow the invasion. So right here we're kind of by Guildford is almost on the sort of direct path from the south coast towards London. So of course each nodal point was designed to slow that advance towards our capital. And I believe from doing a bit of reading and research that each position was almost kind of designated a certain period of time that they felt it would be able to hold out. This position here was rated as a 7-day defensive point, so the idea being that this defence here would have been designed to slow the German advance by up to 7 days, and hopefully of course to defend the centre of Guildford, which could be used as a headquarters for this area, or somewhere where you could at least plan and control the defensive tactics. Okay, so seeing as we have climbed over this side into the woods, we're going to take a little wander, because I have a suspicion that with this being here, I reckon that we're going to be able to find a little bit more of what's going on. So let's go have a wander. Exactly as I anticipated, I've found over here another, looks like a rifle pit, or actually this one's bigger. This one maybe could have been like a mortar pit or something like that, but let's check it out. So here we go, you guys can see what I mean. So this one is a different shape. It's like a more of a rectangle shape, and the fact that we are back kind of behind what would have been the front line of this defensive position. So to give you an idea, you can see through the trees here, we have that defensive line of the Dragon's Teeth coming up, and just up around here is where we were stood before in the other rifle pit. So with this one being a little bit back further from the line, I would imagine this maybe would have been some kind of like machine gun position, or potentially this could have been some kind of mortar pit to provide some further backup for the people over there in that front line rifle pit. Certainly looks a bit bigger, a bit wider, which is why I'm kind of guessing that there might have been some kind of bigger piece of machinery in there. This one's a bit deeper. I mean, it might not be any deeper than the other one. It might just be there's less leaves in it, so it looks deeper to us right here. But there we go. And in fact, just over here, I also noticed we have another one. So you guys might not be able to see this one so well, but you can kind of make out the edges of it. It's like a longer running one, and certainly if we look at this end here, you can see where the edge of it was. Now the advantage of this one, I suppose, is that where it's positioned, we're right here on the hill. So we are looking across down the hill. So those Dragon's Teeth run all the way down from the right up there, down this hill towards the water. So this position here really would have given a great defensive and a real good vantage point looking across this. Now I don't know how many of these trees were there at the time. I imagine certainly it probably would have been less shrubbery and less trees than we have right now. So you can imagine that this view probably would have been clear across here to give them that real good vantage point. Now, as we talked about earlier, the Guildford Home Guard manned these positions. Now this wasn't the only one of these positions. There was a circuit or a perimeter of defence all the way around Guildford. And I've done a bit of research. I can't necessarily any other key bits that still exist now. But certainly this is actually really well preserved, and it's really interesting to have a look at those Dragon's Teeth. It really is cool. And that's something so interesting. So I've lived near Guildford for pretty much all of my life, and I did not know this was here. The first time I've been here and seen this, and really you've got some history right here on the doorstep. We talked about this in our previous video when we talked about the GHQ stop line. There is so much World War II history in and around us in the UK that you don't necessarily realise is there until you really get researching and you really go looking for it. Well, today we found some of it and we had a real good look, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I'm going to ask you guys to do a few favours for me. Make sure you hit the like button because it helps me out loads and loads on the channel. I hope you guys think about subscribing. Lots of other future history videos to come. I've found another really cool historic place in Surrey that we're going to probably be checking out in the next video. Comment below if you guys know anything more about this place or any other places maybe around the kind of southeast of England that I should be checking out, I could make a video on for this channel. Please do let me know, stick it in the comments below. As you guys will realise, this is a brand new channel. I've created an Instagram page to kind of go with it, so you can find history in your hand over on Instagram. But I hope you guys enjoy the channel. I've certainly enjoyed having a look at these couple of historic places already, and I intend on carrying on and making some more videos. In the meantime guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to see you on the next video.